What's up, and welcome back. This is another one of my 2024 top 10 of the year lists. These are lighting my viewerships on fire. I'm gonna keep doing them. I'm finishing them out. There's no reason to stop, especially when I'm getting to the good categories. So today we're talking about best adapted screenplay. So these are my top 10 best adapted screenplays of the year. Um, I'm missing some that people would be like, why aren't these there? So I will address the fact that yes, I still have not seen Poor Things. I still have not seen Zone of Interest. I still have not seen The Boy and the Heron or Godzilla Minus One. The last two do not have audio descriptions. Zone of Interest did not initially have audio description upon release. It does now. And Poor Things, I don't know, I'm just lazy. I've seen 8 of 10 Best Picture nominees. I've got 2 I still have to see. So, but I don't want to just wait on these lists forever and then put them out in like April. Then no one will watch them instead of just a few people. So we're gonna knock these out. I did literally just now in my mind switch my 10th spot, so I don't know who wrote this, but it's like 5 people and I didn't write them down. So I dropped my number 10. I won't even say what it is because I don't want people to be like, you dropped that? I don't know what it is. There's going to be a notable film here missing. Note the films that I just said. There's a film that I know somebody's going to be like, what? Go watch my review of the film, and then you'll understand why the film is not an adapted screenplay. Moving up the list, number 10 is Society of the Snow. This is based on actually a previously written work, and it's excellent. It's just an excellent film. True story, everything that we need out of life. I struggle with whether or not to put this on here just because of how I access it as an international film. I'm like, but if I put that in like picture, if I put that in my top 10, why couldn't I put that in adapted? It's hard to recognize actors because everything is dubbed, but there's no reason I can't recognize the screenplay, even though it's being translated to me. It's being translated to everybody else just in subtitles. So yeah. I want to make sure it's on the list, so I knocked something else out and put Society of the Snow on. So Society of the Snow makes the cut. Number 9 on my list is Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and some Callahan guy for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's basically Phil Lord and Chris Miller. We know that these guys are the brainchild behind this, and that's why it's so good. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the reasons why now it's just Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, because they realized that part ones are not all the rage, and we're going to get less of films that feel like they're incomplete and more films that feel like they might be the middle part of a trilogy but still a coherent film. My only qualm with this film is that it does really leave you hanging. It does really just not finish its concept. But there's so many just amazing choices that they make in here, especially with regards to balancing the different Spider-Men, that I honestly can't believe we get a film that's this good, is animated, and features Miles Morales. So yeah, kudos to Phil Lord and Chris Miller for continuing to produce great work in the Spider-Man universe. I have no idea why they got fired out of Star Wars. It blows my mind every time I think about that, because I'm like, it's not like that film was that good. What could they possibly have been doing to get fired from Solo? Because I have yet to see something where I'm like, yeah, Lord and Miller dropped the ball. No, don't fire them, rehire them and let them direct a Star Wars film. One of the weirdest and worst decisions I think Star Wars has ever made. Number 8. James Gunn for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. A lot of people, you know what? I just want to say fuck you to some people. I know that's harsh. We're just going to drop that in there. A lot of people have been like, oh, superhero films died this year. No, some of them did. Guardians is great. Uh, so why don't you put an asterisk before you check yourself before you wreck yourself? Because Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was everything we needed. Maybe there's too many. Maybe you want to make that case. Maybe you're like, well, not everything needs to be made. Not everything, blah, blah, blah. Maybe some other films needed to. No, Guardians was flawless. James Gunn, perfect film. Great way to finish out his trilogy. And I have no idea what he's going to do with the DC EU, but he has earned the right to get me excited about his projects. So I'm excited for things that James Gunn does. I thought Guardians closed out and absolutely deserves to be on my list for best adapted screenplay.
Simon misspelled Paul Harvey and Paul King. Wonka.
Simon something and Paul King. These poor people that sign on along with the more recognizable person to write screenplays. I feel so bad for them. It's like I do write down their name and then my screen reader tries to read it back to me. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Simon. So does Simon and Paul. Paul and Simon are, Simon and Garfunkel a little bit. We're having a little bit of moment there. Anyway, Wonka. Yeah, is on here. I'm actually kind of impressed that this didn't suck. But I actually think it's the latter of the two names, Paul King, as to why this film doesn't suck. Is he continues to adapt things that you would think would suck, but then makes them not. Like, I would just be down for whatever. If he's like, I'm going to direct a Raggedy Ann movie, I'd be like, cool. It's probably going to be great. You know? It's sort of like how we were undercutting Greta Gerwig, just conceptually, just we're like, yeah, Greta's a great, but Barbie? Like, no. There were people who were like, no, but it's Greta Gerwig, and we just didn't listen. I'm there with Paul King now. I'm just like, whatever that dude wants to do, I am. If he wants to direct a movie about the Easter Bunny, it's probably going to be a great movie. Whatever he wants, on board. So yeah, just learn to love Paul King and just not immediately assume, that it sucks. So Wonka, moving up. Sofia Coppola for Priscilla. I actually really liked this film a lot. And I do think it's Sophia's strongest work since Lost in Translation. She wrote a really good script. I was really not high on this film, looking forward to it. Following Elvis, I was like, we don't need another one. The second one usually is never the great one, It's never the one that anybody remembers. Like Capote to Infamous. Everybody remembers Capote. Nobody remembers Infamous, And this kind of felt adjacent to that, even though it's Elvis to Priscilla. It still has Elvis. It's still kind of about his life also, even though it's just more focused on Priscilla. This is the better film. Not gonna lie. I think Priscilla's a better film than Elvis. I think what Sophia did with Priscilla was more daring than what Boz did with Elvis. And I think Jacob Elordi gave a better performance. Yeah. All of this had to do with a great screenplay, though. It had to start somewhere. And Sophia wasn't afraid of pulling punches, and Priscilla is hauntingly good. So, moving up the list. Matt Johnson and Matthew Miller for Blackberry. This should be on any top 10 lists for adapted screenplay. It's a film about a phone, guys. Yeah, so I don't know what else to say. It's a script that crackles. I've seen this listed and adapted other places. I don't really understand the difference between this being adapted and then Air being original. To me, somebody needs to explain the rules of this stuff to me. Speaking of which, while we're here in talking about Blackberry, I went with everybody but the Academy and decided Barbie is in the original race. I don't know what they're on crack. So Barbie is not an adapted screenplay. It's an original screenplay. Probably could have done the same thing with Blackberry, but I'm just less I'm less certain that that is warranted. So it's here because other people have shoved in an adapted screenplay. But yes, that performance that we love, it needs great lines written for it, in order to get Glenn to such a point, it requires great dialogue, which starts on the page. So, moving up the list,
Judy Blume and Kelly Freeman Craig.
Kelly Fremont Craig and Judy Blume for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I yeah. I can't tell you how not excited for this film I was. I was just like, whatever. I heard they were making it. I was like, did nothing for me. I didn't read the book. Not for my generation. Film feels like it's made for little girls. Felt like if somebody was asking me to be excited for Ramona and Beezus, I was so wrong. I've loved this film ever since I've seen it. Totally caught me off guard. I didn't even like Kelly Fremont Craig's Edge of 17 that much. I thought it was okay, but I thought it was a little overrated. I thought people were overpraising that. This I loved. Thought it was great. Everything I needed out of the film. So, the script is fire. So bringing all of the ideas and concepts, writing the most realistic children who don't sound like they're trying too hard, but are actually just being kids, and wrapping it all in these adult themes and concepts about religion and identity. And yeah, this is a great film. I am so upset it didn't get nominated anywhere. Just what the hell happened, guys? What happened this year? We consolidated too many Oscar nominations. There were too many great films that just ended up not getting nominated. Anyway, moving on up the list.
Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer.
I do believe we're at third place now. So this is Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. His screenplay for Oppenheimer is it sneaks up on you, Yeah, it's fine in the beginning. Like it's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about like the wonder of the cast and like everything that he set up for you, and you're not necessarily all in the screenplay for Oppenheimer. And then you get to that third act and you realize, oh wow, this is all screenplay. This is just tying it all in together, putting all these characters in the same room, making this whole final act of the film interesting to begin with. I know for some people the third act is divisive, is what they don't like. For me, the third act was great. I loved the third act. For me, Oppenheimer got better as the film went on. It kept increasing, which is one of the reasons why its 3-hour runtime didn't bother me. Is because it started off and I was like, all right, well, we're just starting a thing. And it just kind of felt like the pace kept getting faster, harder. And then the third act was just like on fire all the way through to the end. And that comes from a great script from one of the year's best films. And Nolan, who is great at being the captain of a ship, basically. So, what did I put above it? Court Jefferson for American Fiction in the runner-up spot. I struggled with my top two. Thought about tying it for a little while there. Admittedly, there is a gap between 2 and 3. It's a little bit of a gap because I actually legitimately was flipping 1 and 2 back and forth, and then I was like, what if I just tie them? I was like, no, because I maybe want to tie something later on. I don't know that adapted screenplays where I want to do a tie, and then I don't want to do too many ties, and people call me out. I'm like, you're not even doing lists or rankings, just tying everything. So, because I might tie something later on, in a category where it really matters, I did give another screenplay the edge over Court Jefferson's amazing American Fiction. Just amazing, fired up script. I loved it so much. This is one of my favorite films of the year. I can say the same thing about the film I'm just about to talk about, just about to mention. I don't know. It's smart. It's heartfelt. It balances drama and satire, which is really hard to do. Everything about this, I have no idea what the work is like that it's adapted from, but damn, any category that this would be in for screenplay, I would put this in. Even if there was just a category for best screenplay, which some people have, they don't differentiate between original and adapted. This deserves to be on the list up against originals. It's just a great script. So what beat it? My winner for Best Adapted Screenplay of 2023, or I guess we're in 2024, however you look at it. These films are from 2023, but the best one that was in that year, Andrew Haigh for All of Us Strangers. Yeah, the fact that he missed out on a nomination did factor in a little bit here, I'm going to be honest. But the fact that he took something that was previously had a horror ghost story aim to it, and found the heart and the soul of it and asked us like a really basic question. I've talked about this film a lot, and one of the reasons what works so beautifully about All of Us Strangers is that it does basically what Past Lives does, where Celine tapped into something that was so universal in all of us about how time and space divides us from childhood, how there's likely somebody that you left behind that you would love to talk to again. And depending on who that person is for people, it really hits them. The film really hits them. It has nothing to do with being Korean. Those people could be aliens from another planet. I know people are like, representation matters. It has nothing to do with them being Korean. That film could have worked with them being from anywhere, any language, any country, anywhere. It doesn't matter. It could be anywhere. The film works because it's about this universal thing that we all have, where there's someone from our childhood that we have lost and fallen out of connection with. But with the advent of social media, we're now actually in a place where we could actually maybe track that person down. We're not really 100% sure because we haven't seen that person since we were like 10 or 12. Maybe they moved away, maybe we moved away. But you're really curious. You're like, what happened to this person who I used to be so tight with and spend so much time with? Past Lives taps into that. What Andrew Haigh does with All of Us Strangers is, and so many people write this off as a gay movie. Stop doing that. It's not. No. What he taps into is the things unsaid. He taps into regret. He taps into, what if you had one last chance to say something? What would you say? If you could have one more conversation, what would it be? And that's universal as well. It's just an idea. It's a concept. And ultimately, that's why I picked it over American Fiction. While American Fiction does have 1,000 totally pointed satire things to make about culture and society and how we view things, this hits everybody emotionally on a certain level. We've all lost somebody who we wish we could have said one more thing to, just that little something else, or something that we lost too early, and maybe we want to tell them how well we did. A family member that, think about how many kids lose one of their parents when they're young, and they never get to. This film is again such a universal idea, and the fact that Andrew Haigh saw that in a written work that was aimed at like haunting people, being a little bit more of a ghost story, and turned it into this. Sometimes we talk about how faithful of an adaptation is something, but then also there's a point where you go, oh, I see what you did there. Oh, that's really cool what you did with that. And I think Andrew Haigh balanced that so perfectly, and the fact that he wasn't recognized this year for Adapted Screenplay. Listen, I haven't even seen Poor Things in Zone of Interest, but there isn't a film out there that would make me, that I wouldn't drop out of Adapted Screenplay so that Andrew Haigh could at least get a screenplay nomination for All of Us Strangers. So I do believe that this is the best. Yeah, American Fiction is really close, because these films are currently vying in my Best Picture list for the top spot as well. I have way too many favorite films this year, and ranking Best Picture is a fucking pain in the ass. Um, and these are right next to each other, right up there at the top. And yeah, All of the Strangers, I have to respect the fact that he found an emotional core that resonates so much with everybody that goes to see this film that's why they end up weeping. Hasn't Yes, does it work great for the LGBT community? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. Yeah. But speaking as a member of that, I don't know that every person that I would want to have a conversation with, that would be what I would want to talk about. So, it's not it's not the same for everything, and the film hits me in certain ways because of all of the conversations I'd want to have with varied people, not necessarily parents or relations, but friends that who died way too early, and being able to talk to them one last time. So any of that kind of stuff, and I wouldn't just start off with, so it's been a while. I just need you to know. That wouldn't be the main part of the conversation for me. With there's so many other things to talk about, or even just one more question wouldn't be the leading question necessarily with me. So, please check out All of Us Strangers. It's still getting nominations for things, and still out there. We could win a shit ton of BAFTAs. There's so many reasons to watch this film. I don't know what's happening with the Oscars. I got nothing for that. Crackheads, just a bunch of crackheads voting at the Oscars. Fire them all. Invite new people. Actually, their nominations are mostly pretty good. There are a couple films this year that should have gotten at least one nomination somewhere. So that it was like, oh yeah, we did see that film, and it is great, and we put it there, sort of like they did with May December. They needed about 5 more of those for me to be truly happy. There are about like 5 films that absolutely just needed something somewhere so they could say Academy Award nominated film. Suicide Squad is an Academy Award winning film. So that's just perspective on that. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and obviously, since I just did Adapted, you can predict what the next video will be. So, it's obviously going to be Best Roller Coasters in America, Top 10. Thanks for watching. See you guys on the other side.